Against all the evil that hell can conjure, all the wickedness that mankind can produce, we will send unto them only you.
With the upcoming Doom the Dark Ages nearly here, I figured it was time for me to put my LEGO building skills to the test and see if I'm able to recreate different gear and weapons from the most recent Doom games. So today I'm going to brick and tear my way through building the Doomslayer and as much of his arsenal as possible in LEGO. For the start of our Doomslayer minifigure, we're going to use these LEGO Star Wars Kashyyyk Clone Trooper legs, mostly because of the sand green waist and the brown boots pattern on the legs. Next we can add this sand green torso from a newer Falcon minifigure in the new Captain America sets. That touch of reddish brown on the torso will help replicate a Doomslayer minifigure pretty well. Then we can add two light nougat arms and some brown hands for gloves. Next I added this dark green shoulder armor from the Buzz Lightyear movie line of LEGO sets. It adds the needed bulk to this minifigure's shoulders and chest, as well as having some orange on the shoulder just like the Doomslayer. Then I added a standard light blue minifigure head, and then a dark green helmet to top it off. And now that we've got the base of this minifigure done, we can add a couple fun accessories too. I started by adding a 1x1 dark green stud with a bar on it, and this 1x1 brown plate with a bar attached to it. From there we can add on a black skeleton piece and this minifigure blaster to represent the shoulder-mounted equipment launcher. We can then clip on this brown droid arm, and then this gray blade piece to represent the Doom blade. You could also connect the Doom blade by using a 1x1 hollow stud, a 1x1 clip, and this minifigure neck bracket, but I find the first technique to be a little bit easier. It's also a little bit less stable than the first technique, so it's a little unreliable when keeping it together. But I like that it's physically connected to his wrist a little bit more than the first build. Let me know in the comments which Doom blade build you prefer. The first of the Doomslayer's weapons we're going to make is the Super Shotgun. I started by using a black minifigure accessory holder and then connected a 1x1 stud with a bar on it and then a 1x1 clip on the end. From there I connected two black minifigure binocular pieces together and then connected them to that 1x1 clip. And that gives you a pretty good LEGO shotgun, but we can add a couple more pieces to make it even better. I added another 1x1 clip to that end binoculars piece in gold this time, and then connected a gold bucket handle as well. That way you can recreate the iconic meat hook that's on the end of the Super Shotgun. And if you want to add even more detail, you can add this translucent orange chain piece and connect it to the end of your shotgun and your meat hook. That way it looks like it's actually firing out of the shotgun just like in the game. Next we're going to build the chainsaw. First we're going to take this 1x1 modified yellow brick and attach a yellow 1x1 clip to it. Then we're going to add two 1x1 yellow clips to the left and the bottom of that 1x1 brick. Then we can add this gray handle piece and a dark gray bucket handle to that top yellow clip. Then we can add a couple silver teeth pieces to the remaining two clips, and then a 1x1 hollow stud, which we can then use to connect our saw piece. And now our LEGO Doomslayer is ready to shred through some demons. And now on to one of the most useful weapons in the Doom games, the plasma rifle. I started with this very simple minifigure blaster piece that has studs on all sides, and put gold hollow studded pieces on each side. And then stacked a couple 1x1 plates on the bottom stud of the blaster. And then I stacked some more 1x1 plates on the front of the blaster, this time with two gold, two translucent blue, and one gray plate. Then I added a 1x1 stud with a bar connection on the front, and then finally I added a 1x1 by 2/3 brick to the end of the rifle. And with that, we've got a LEGO plasma rifle. Now on to one of my personal favorite weapons from the Doom games, the Chaingun. I started by using this 1x2 minifigure blaster with studs on all sides, and connected a 1x1 plate to the bottom. Then I added two 1x2 rounded tiles to each side of the blaster and a 1x2 rounded brick to the top. Then I added a 1x1 black stud and a 1x1 brick with studs on all sides. After that I added two more black studs and a 1x1 translucent blue brick in between them. And now we're going to need a lot of 2 stud long bars and black minifigure binocular pieces. By connecting 2 of those bars to the binoculars piece, and making 4 of those, and then connecting them to that 1x1 modified brick on the blaster, you now have a LEGO chain gun. Up next is the Ballista. I started by using this modified 1x2 brick with studs on 2 sides, and then put this 1x1 gold clip on top. Then I added this 1x2 bracket in the same color, and then this 1x1 gold round brick and a 1x1 cheese slope. Next I connected a 1x1 gold hollow stud with a clone trooper pistol attached, and then this bar with a clip on the end. And for the barrel of the weapon, I used the same technique that I did with my super shotgun before by connecting 2 minifigure binocular pieces. I also added a gold minifigure hand underneath for some extra detail. And who would have thought that 2 gold sausage pieces would come in handy next? I used them to make the bow of the weapon and then attached some clips with bars on them as well. And with that, our LEGO Ballista is finished. We have a pretty complicated build up next with the heavy cannon. To start, I used a 1x1 modified brick with a 1x1 tile and plate on each end, and then connected this red minifigure accessory holder for the handle. Next, I added a couple 1x1 plates, a 1x1 bracket, a cheese slope, and a 1x1 clip that will come in handy later. For the front of the cannon, I used another modified 1x1 brick with a 1x1 plate and 1x2 tile on the bottom, then this 1x1 open stud and a 2-stud long bar inside of it. And next, I'm actually going to use a black minifigure hand and slide it inside of the modified brick for the sight on the cannon. Next, I'm going to pull out a pretty illegal building technique here and use this Lego string with these bars on it. By cutting the string to be a shorter length, we can actually utilize it to be the ammo magazine for the cannon. By using the stud connection on that string, we can connect the two parts of the cannon we already made. And now we can use that 1x1 clip on the end to connect the rest of that string. And with that, our heavy cannon is complete. Let's talk about the most iconic melee weapon from Doom Eternal, the Crucible. I actually workshopped this weapon for several hours before I settled on a final design, so I'll break it down for you. For starters, I used this modified lightsaber hilt and then connected this 1x1 plate with 2 bars on each side. That way I can portray the big bulky hilt that the Crucible has. Then I put a 1x1 clip on top of that, and then connected a 1x4 translucent red tile. And for the top of the Crucible, I used this translucent red axe piece. I went back and forth thinking of different options on how to make the blade of the Crucible, but it turns out this more simple option was the best. And the final result does not disappoint. Next, we have a weapon of similar origin to the Crucible in the Sentinel Hammer. The start of this weapon is basically just a LEGO Star Wars lightsaber, but in all black. And at the top, I connected a modified lightsaber hilt just like the one I used for the Crucible. From there, I connected a 1x1 translucent red plate and translucent red tile on top of it. And on the other side, I used a translucent red 1x2 plate with some cheese slopes on top. Another fairly simple design like the Crucible, but I really like how it turned out. The translucent red LEGO pieces work really well for these types of weapons. Now we're getting into the real big boy weapons of Doom with the Unmakyr. This one probably isn't in scale with our Doomslayer minifigure here, but it makes up for it by being frickin' awesome. I started the same way I did with a lot of the other Doom weapons so far by using a modified 1x1 brick with studs on all sides. So then I could connect these triangular and cone-shaped bricks, as well as a 1x1 stud with bar to connect this skeleton arm for the handle of the weapon. Then I added a 1x2 jumper plate to the front of the brick and a 1x2 grill to the top. Next, I made this assembly of pieces that's an amalgamation of different plates with bars, jumper plates, and droid arms. And after I connected those two together, I started designing the coolest part of the weapon. I used a lot of different pieces for the barrel of the Unmakyr. I started by connecting some translucent red lightsaber bars to these droid arms, and then inserted them into this 1x3 plate with open hold studs. From there, I added some 1x1 clips and cheese slopes on top of that, and these gold minifigure accessory holders on the ends. It's a pretty convoluted build and definitely went a little bit too far when it comes to the size of it, but I really wanted to nail the detail down. And I think the gold, red, and white color scheme definitely translated well from the game. So now we can connect that piece onto the rest of our weapon, and with that we've got ourselves a slightly oversized but unmistakably awesome Unmakyr. And now it's time for arguably one of the most iconic Doom weapons of all time, the BFG 9000. And I'll tell you right now, this one was quite a piece of work to design. So let's break it down. For the start of the BFG 9000, I used a minifigure blaster with studs on all sides. And then I connected a 1x2 plate on top of it and a 1x2 modified brick with more studs on all sides. I put a cheese slope on the back and then a 1x1 by 2/3 brick in the front. And if you already think this is pretty complicated, you ain't seen nothing yet. From there we can add 1x2 light gray tiles to each side of the blaster and then this 1x1 dark gray tile on top. After that we can add a 1x1 gray bracket, a 1x1 modified brick with studs on both sides, a couple plates, and a cheese slope. Then for the main chamber of the weapon I put 4 1x2 rounded plates together. Then I put a 1x1 hollow stud piece at the bottom and connected some bars inside of there. And then I topped that off with some lime green tiles to represent the iconic green energy the weapon emits. We can then connect it to the build that we have so far. Then we can throw a couple gray ingot tiles on each side, as well as a 1x4 dark gray tile on top. Then I'm going to use a 1x4 rounded plate with another ingot tile and a couple rounded bricks on top. I made 2 of those and connected it to each side of the build. And finally, for the stock on the weapon, I used a 1x1 brick and 1x1 plate connected to another ingot tile. It's definitely one of the largest and most complicated Doom weapons I made, but I think I nailed the look. You can also use this translucent green Nexo Knight's armor to represent the armor pickups found throughout the game. Not as interesting as the other stuff I'm making for this video, but it's a nice piece to add to the collection of Doom weapons. And with that, let's move on to some items from the upcoming Doom: The Dark Ages. First things first, we're going to upgrade our Doomslayer minifigure to look a little bit more like the version from Doom: The Dark Ages. And to do that, we're going to add this cape from the Wolfpack Beastmaster minifigure. Believe it or not, but this cape is actually the whole reason this video exists. When I saw some of the gameplay for the new Doom game, I saw the cape that he was wearing and immediately thought of the Wolfpack Beastmaster. So then I figured I might as well make a minifigure of the Doomslayer with that cape, and here we are several custom weapons later. And of course there's a couple accessories we can give this version of the Doomslayer as well. For starters, I wanted to make the Saw Shield. I made this shield by using a Technic gear and a 2x2 dark green jumper plate. Then I put a red bar in the middle for some detail on the shield and connected a handle to the back. And of course I had to make the circular saw blade on the shield actually spin just like in the game. And now that our Doomslayer has his shield, we gotta give him a melee weapon as well. And for that I chose the Iron Flail. I made the Iron Flail by using a brown lightsaber piece, a black chain, a black 1x1 stud with a bar on it, and then this mace topper piece. I originally had interest in this mace piece when I was doing my LEGO Super Smash Bros. Series. I wanted to add it to my Simon and Richter minifigures for their whip accessory. But this specific piece was a little too expensive for me to bite the bullet on, but now that I found another use for it, I went ahead and got it. And it works perfectly with the Doomslayer minifigure to great effect. And even though as of recording this video Doom: The Dark Ages isn't out yet, I was able to look at the gameplay footage and recreate one of my favorite weapons from the trailer. That weapon being the ridiculously awesome nail gun. For the start of the nail gun, we're going to use a 1x2 modified brick with studs on all sides, like I've used with a lot of the other Doom weapons. Then I added a couple silver grate pieces to represent the nails on the side of the weapon. I used that same piece again, and then added on a 1x1 clip and cheese slope to the front. From there, I added some modified 1x1 plates with bars on each side to add some skeleton arms. This represents the part of the weapon that holds the nails in place on the side of the weapon. Then I connected this part of the nail gun to a 1x2 rounded plate with a bar and a minifigure accessory holder for the handle. After that, I connected a couple bar holders with clips and a 1x2 plate to the bottom. This LEGO version of the nail gun I came up with definitely captures the ridiculous and awesome nature of this new weapon. If you enjoyed the LEGO Doom weapons I made today, consider giving the video a like as it really helps out the channel. And don't forget to subscribe to stay tuned for future videos like this. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you all next time.